What if you could walk into a local small business and instead of being there as a customer, turn them into a customer? That is called B2B, and that is the theme of today's video. I'm going to be using the eufyMake E1 UV printer you see running over my shoulder to talk to you guys about things you can make to then present to other local businesses to make money off of them for a change. Hey guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to Samcraft. In today's video, I'm in my home office here in the house. I'm running the eufyMake UV printer and I am making a batch of custom products or merch for a business. Now in this case, I'm making them for the Samcraft business because I didn't want to just waste the items on some fictitious brand, but the process with the machine is the same. The goal in today's video is to show you guys how well the UV printer runs for batches, how long it actually takes, and try and do a little calculation on actual cost to produce items. So here's the business opportunity angle that I want to talk to you about. A lot of small businesses are constantly needing to advertise and put themselves out there to their customers. A lot of times this is shown up as promotional items, giveaways, freebies, or things that are just a little bit beyond the traditional business card that they give or you take from a shop to remember them by. One of the number one things that I see most often in retail shops are these guys, custom pins. Maybe not the Samcraft custom pins just yet, but the custom pins, while they've been around for a while, they're still very valid. It is a way for a customer to get your brand literally in their hand and think about you without knowing they're being made to think about you. When they go to write something, draw, scribble, or just get something that they're less likely to throw away, your brand is right there, which is awesome. Now, as you, the viewer of this video, it's probably not your brand that they're going to see, but what it'll allow you to do is realize that your customer, which is another business, wants this. They want their brand in front of their customers, and you could be the person to help them get it through making them with the UV printer. If you're not familiar with the acronym B2B, it basically stands for business to business. And what that means is one business selling something to another. That's really what it is. It's a model that I like to do and is very popular in the consumer world out there because when you're dealing with another business, you're already dealing with someone who is in process, wants something, but most importantly, especially for today's video, they're looking for something in scale. They're not looking for one-off items. They're looking for batches, bulk items, or at least repeat business, which is great because we as small businesses can count on those other businesses for a more reliable source of income, which is good. It gives us the warm fuzzies. It helps us feel secure in our business, and it just makes sense. All right, so one of the first things that I want to show and actually do is making some custom pins in the UV printer. Pins and merchandise has been around forever, and while you may think, ugh, it's old stuff, let's do something new, there's a reason you still see custom pins out there in the world. As an item sitting in a store, if I have a pin that my customers may use or swipe or give away, and it has my brand name on it or my business name, it is a way for them to have something they will use and keep. They're less likely to throw away, but still look and be reminded of me anytime they use it. And that's powerful. That is directly putting your brand in front of a customer. And as a small business, you want that as much as possible. So what I have here is a bag of bamboo pins bought from Amazon. These are blank. I use them a lot for laser engraving. And today I'm going to stick them in the printer. And instead of engraving a brand, we're going to UV print one. This will give us more options. This will show us how to use the machine and will be one example of opening up new avenues with the machine. So we've launched eufyMake Studio here on the computer, and I want to go ahead and do a new program file or a new design. I want to make sure I have the mini flatbed selected, which there are two beds with the eufyMake. There's the miniature or mini bed and the larger standard size. I really like to run the mini bed most often, especially in my office, because it takes up less space, allows me to keep the doors closed, and it's just easier and quicker to use. You can definitely get more products on the standard size bed, but it takes longer to get your snapshots. Your print jobs will take longer to run just because of the quantity of items on there, and so I just prefer to use the mini bed most often. What you'll also see is that I have a jig system that I've developed that I do make and sell for this that allows me to plop and drop my items. It takes away the human error in this process and allows me just to load, unload, over and over. So the first thing I will do is go ahead and take a snapshot, which is what we do with the eufyMake. This is where it's going to pick the product up. It's going to focus, align, and all that stuff. And it's going to plop in an image here on our software that we could use to plop our designs. However, I won't be doing that since I'm using a jig. I also have templates that go with them, and I'm going to align things up that way so I get perfect alignment. The snapshot process just takes a couple of minutes, and as you can see here on the screen, we have a very nice, honestly an HDR looking photo of what's sitting on the print bed. So like I said, I'm not going to use the camera for plopping my graphics. What I want to do is import my template. So I'm going into my file structure here, which I probably will blur out, opening up the specific one for the jig that I have here, and then plopping it into the software. I need to scale this to the correct size, which is 331 millimeters wide, and put it at my particular start point, which is 2.9, 1.3. Yeah, notebooks are still handy and viable in today's tech world. So I have my template on here, and what I want to do next is plop my graphics. So we'll go to the upload option, which is where I already have the Samcraft brand loaded. Zoom out a little bit, and I want to scale this down to fit on the pins as I want. So what I'll do now is just Control C for copy, Control V for paste, and then I can just drag my graphic down. One thing I really like about their software is they have the option, and you can disable this, to snap to grid or have grid lines. This is really handy. As I bring it down, I can see where it lines up with the graphic above. That's really nice. And also, if I bring it to the middle, you can see the green line here. It's snapping to my template, the yellow rectangle as well. So that's super handy with the software. So one thing I realized is that I had the pins wrong. So I'm going to reach over there and I'm going to rotate them around on my jig so that when the person holds the pin, presuming they're right-handed, the logo reads correctly from the right hand. And then what I'll do is for the left hand, I'll make it to where the logo reads correctly for the left hand as well. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that for the left. So if I think of this like that, I want my logo upside down. Okay, took a little thought process there. All right, so my design is done. I'm going to hide my template files because I don't want to print those. So click on the eyeball, get rid of them. Now I'm going to do Control A to select everything. And since this is a black logo, I don't need white underbase. I'm just going to choose CMYK, but I want this to be pretty dark. So I will tell these to do 3 layers of that. So we should be putting down 3 layers of black. That'll give us a good contrast on the bamboo color, but not be wasteful putting a white underbase beneath it. At this point, we have our snapshot. It is already focused. I haven't touched anything over here. So the next thing I do is click print. But what I want to do is take note on my notepad of my start and stop times because I want to keep track of how long this actually takes. Obviously, the first setup, the design process, takes a while. But after this, I should be able to print. When it's done, unload, reload, and use a new feature they put in their software called reprint that'll just pull it back up and print again. It should skip the snapshot and the focusing steps, which do take time. All right, the first batch of pins just finished, and I ran my timer here, 7 minutes, 15 seconds, and the print time, it shows 7 minutes, 4 seconds. So that's cool. It gives me the confidence to say, I don't need to run that timer. I'm just going to take note of the print times here on the screen. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is take advantage of a jig by just taking those pins out, loading in more from my bag, and then hitting this reprint option right here on the screen. That little guy there wasn't there when Eufy first launched the machine, but I'm so happy they put it in place because that saves us a lot of steps. Okay, so let's unload the jig and then I'll show you what I mean on that button. All right, before we unload the jig, let's take a look at the work, right? Because that's the whole purpose of a jig. Check that out. You probably can't see it, can you? Perfect, perfect, perfect. Looks great. And in this orientation, if they're writing with their left hand, they're going to see Samcraft in the correct orientation. Awesome. All right, let's leave these in lefty mode. So we'll take them on out of here. Sit them to the side and get more out of my bag and plop them in here and just click reprint. All right, make sure everybody's flat and good. All right, so here in the software, I'm going to click on reprint. This is where it's telling me, hey, are you sure you want to reprint? Make sure nothing's moved. Everything's just like it was. It is. We're good to go. So we click print and it sends the job and then it goes. This is saving so much time. What it is doing now is making sure nothing has changed on that height. Looking good. And what I expect now is it should just start printing right away. Well, this is interesting. Job number 2, using the reprint function, took longer. It says the print time was 7 minutes, 12 seconds. That's odd, but that's what it says. That's what I write down. Let's unload, reload, and do it again. All right, print job number 3 just finished, and that one took 7 minutes and 8 seconds. So I guess there's a little variability with, I don't know, priming the pump or something. So basically a little over 7 minutes for 8 pins. Great? Terrible? I don't know. That's the speed of the printer. One thing to point out and know that this is going to drastically change based upon your design is the actual ink usage here. I'm using less than 0.01 ml of cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Very, very small amounts. I don't even know if you could really calculate an ink cost on this. I guess, well, I'll work on it on the next one. But just to know that to do my logo, which given it's small, right? It's not a big logo there. It's not costing me a lot of ink. If anything, the time to print is the slowest part. But the beauty of a machine like this is I can have it running right here in my office over my shoulder, and I can do other stuff. I can work on other things. I can answer emails. I don't have to physically watch it, and I don't have to be there at the machine to do everything individually. And that really goes a long way for production. All right, so that makes 24. So let me go ahead and flip these guys over and print the other side. That way we have our right-hand people seeing the Samcraft, the same as our left-hand people are. And I'll keeping track of the times, but I think it's safe to say that I'm right at the 7-minute mark per batch, which is 8 pins. So let me finish those others, and then I'll yak at you here in just 1 second. Actually, I changed my mind. I want to get up close and show you guys the results of using the jig as far as the alignment. So let me pull this out of here without jiggling the pins too bad. I'll turn it this way so you can really see how it lines up. And as you can see, that is dead on all the way across both sets of pins. I guess you'd call them sets. It is perfectly lined up. And what I really like is that it takes my guesswork out. So what I can do is just rotate my jig and put those pin clips on the other side. Just like that. There we go. And it allows me just to print the other side. Easy enough. That's also the reason my jig's designed with these, I don't know, kind of odd shapes here and there, is to allow you to have versatility. If you want to print on them that way, if you want the clip facing down, it's got a pocket to hold it that way. And then also I put it to where it could also go here. So if you prefer to have your designs in the middle, it's whatever you want. It really is how it's set up. So get these guys rotated over. Looks good. And now we got to go back into design software, rotate the logo 180 degrees, but otherwise just print these again. So what I want to do right now is let's talk about cost, because you may be thinking, well, that's great and all, but is there room for profit? I'm going to do some real life tests and research with you guys. So hopping over into my web browser here, first and foremost, looking at the bamboo pins, the ones right now I can get from Amazon. They're on sale for $34 for 150, and that breaks down to about 24 cents a piece. So my cost for a pin, 24 cents. Now going over to Google and doing a little research, custom pin cost per unit. It says it can typically range from 20 cents to $1.50 a piece. That first 20 cents number is kind of discouraging, but don't think of it that way. Those are probably the cheap little plastic ones, and that's true bulk processing. One thing that is really, really important is as you look to price your products, remember you are not Amazon, you are not Walmart, you are not Temu, you're not a mass manufacturer, and you're not bottom of the barrel. You want to make sure you always present yourself as you are. You are a made in the USA small business, you are local, and you are high quality. You don't get those three from those other places. So remember, when you're thinking of your prices, of who you are. You are not the bottom of the barrel. You're premium, so your prices will also carry that. And don't be scared. You know, if it's the customer has the right mentality, they're going to know that and appreciate it. So as you go throughout this process, give yourself a pep talk. Remember that I am not Walmart. I am not Temu. I do not charge Walmart or Temu. I do not compare my prices to Walmart or Temu. That out of the way, let's jump through here. Let's ignore this top AI overview because it's a little discouraging. Let's go on down to the shopping integration or popular products, because that can kind of give you a better idea. Here we see Vistaprint, which as a business owner myself, I buy some stuff from Vistaprint. And so as a business owner, I may also be looking at Vistaprint. $3.50 a pin, youch. $5.99 a pin, ouch. All of these, okay, well, that's cheap, but it's from some other website. I don't know. So, okay, we're looking at the prices here, and it ranges from $3.50 to 12 cents. But, talk about a cheapo. If we remember back to the product, and this will be important for, make sure you get good quality blanks. Make sure your products you're trying to sell to people are good quality. This is not a cheap plastic pen. This is not that little black and white one. This is a bamboo pen, so it is an eco-friendly, sustainable sourced pen. It is nice. It is very high quality. It has a good click, and the writing quality is great as well. Now, how do I know this? Because I've bought these ahead of time, I've used them, and I know what my product is. Now, that's a whole other ballgame for you. Make sure you know your product that you're going to sell. So from this standpoint, maybe I should modify my search term. Maybe I should search for custom bamboo pens. Now, if we go down, the old Etsy, now we can perhaps see some more accurate pricing. Here's one $7.50, $1.05, $1.13, $4.29. Okay, these are numbers that probably make you feel better, right? Yeah. Now, Etsy is a premium. This is not local number sales, perhaps, but this at least gives you a sense of what others are charging. Now, you can take this information and you can go to a business. And when they ask, well, what is your price? You can come up with a price for 1, 10, 100, or 1,000. That's another subject for another video. But at least now you can see what they're going to see if they Google a similar product when they're checking prices. All right, guys, so I have run through my batch production, or at least my mock-up batch production here. I've got 24 pins in printed, I about said engraved, printed on each side, so double-sided. And then I did a couple of carpenter pencils here. I didn't have many of these. These are actually from Home Depot. So on the other side of these, it's got plastered Home Depot's brand. So just a little rough example. And then I did some golf balls. I actually did the golf balls the other day to test out because someone was asking on a Facebook group the largest diameter to print without getting fuzzy, and it looks like about 3/4 of an inch. So anyway, 3 golf balls here, printed, carpenter pencils, and pens. I've wrote down all my print times, at least for the pens and pencils, and I've got some numbers here to share with you. So the pens took on average 53 seconds to run, one-sided. So if I'm doing double-sided, double that number for your total print time per pen. As far as the carpenter pencils, they were much quicker. They only took 36 seconds per pencil to print. Again, one side. The differences between the two, I'm going to assume, is the fact that the pens were a graphic group over here and a graphic group over here, and the print head had to move. And the carpenter pencils was a single graphic group in the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. So what this is telling me, that from a true production standpoint, I probably should redesign the jigs. And so I will. I mean, I have the versions that you see in the video available today, but I think it's going to be worthwhile to create a really dense, pack them in there really tight version for people who are looking to do large batch productions. Now, as far as if you're doing customized pins one-off or smaller groups, the jigs that I have are perfect for that. But from a mindset of how many can I cram in there at once, yeah, I need to redesign things a little bit. So that's a look at the print time. Now let's look at the cost per unit, and this is going to vary depending upon where you get it from. So I'm going to open up Amazon on my computer here because I just placed an order for more bamboo pens and then also for some non-branded Home Depot pencils here. So looking at my prices that I just paid, the pens, these bamboo pens right now are 24 cents a piece, where I got them from Amazon. And then the pencils are 16 cents a piece. So given numbers change, prices definitely change. We're looking at 24 cents for a blank, 53 seconds for one print. And then on the carpenter pencil, we're looking at 16 cents for a blank, 36 seconds for a print. As far as ink usage, these did not use much ink at all. So that's really difficult to calculate. And so I'm not going to give you figures on that, because eufyMake Studio showed me less than 0.01 milliliters for ink for each batch job. Well, guys, this is going to be it for this one video, but I have a lot of videos I want to cover with the UV printer. If you have things that you want to see, ideas or suggestions, leave them for me down below in the comments. I definitely want to continue using this printer, not only for content, but I have some real life business things coming up that I'm going to be using the printer for. The one thing that I know I can share is I'm going to be making some custom keychains for a local business, and I'm going to be utilizing my 3D printer to print blanks, and then the printer, UV printer, to do the graphics on top. So that's a video coming down the line, as well as other things that may pop up. But again, if you got any ideas, let me know. Otherwise, hopefully this video was helpful. You guys learned something. You got some gears turning in your head as far as what you might be able to do for a B2B scenario. If you want to check out links for the machine, the pens, the pencils, all this stuff, I'll put them down below as well. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time. I can't really say in the workshop, can I? Because I used to say that, but I'm in the home office. So, whatever. We'll see you wherever I see you next.